One.
Good evening. I call to order the November 19th meeting of the Milton School Committee. If everybody can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll start with public comment. In accordance with school committee policy, we welcome members of the community to share their perspectives with us during public comment. We have set aside up to 15 minutes for this part of the meeting, and individuals may speak for up to 3 minutes each. While the school committee does not respond directly to public comment, there may be opportunities for members to address issues that are raised over the course of the meetings when relevant topics are on our agenda. We strive to engage in respectful discourse during our meetings and ask that the public comment speakers keep that in mind. Speakers should introduce themselves for the record. Is there anybody here in the room for public comment? If anybody is online, if you could raise your hand. Second.
Screen's not being shared, so you can see, but
Okay.
there are no hands.
No hands? Okay. All right, there is no one here for public comment, so we will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Serio. We have a very good night tonight to celebrate some good news at the Tucker School and the Tucker School community. But I want to start with introducing our student rep. We have Elias Quiros. Elias wants to come to the table. Elias is a senior who is serving his 4th term as a student representative to the school committee for the Milton High School class of 2026. In addition to this role, Elias is involved in the Trium Music Honors Society, plays violin in the school orchestra, and is also an officer in the Latin Club. So Elias, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And please give us an update on what's going on at Milton High.
Okay. So I have a lot of updates from our high school. First of all, I would like to acknowledge our music department, of which I am a part. And first of all, our Frozen musical has sold out all 3 nights. It is wonderful to have that much engagement with the community that we can fill our auditorium for 3 days in a row. And it is such a joy to celebrate the arts and the theatrical production in such a way. And many of my peers are involved in that, and we're all very excited for that. That's this weekend, for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then our MHS Small Ensembles concert is on December the 2nd. I believe that's a Tuesday. And that is, your more small groups like chamber, orchestra, and brass, some jazz, small groups, and Christmas carolers. They're squirrel groups, pretty sharp. So there is that happening. And then following week is our main winter concert, which is always a big joy for, strings, band, and chorus. We will be having that, and that will be wonderful as well. And then furthermore, football is playing against North Attleboro this week, so we wish them a good luck. The best wishes. The student government, turning our attention back to us. We're hosting quite a variety of fundraising opportunities to support each class. So for instance, the juniors are conducting a raffle for the month of November. There are t-shirt sales going around, especially for pep rally. There's a lot of school spirit now. And then we have an upcoming school-wide dance in February. It's sort of like a Valentine's Day themed event. So that will be wonderful, and then all more information about that will be in the weekly blogs and the superintendent's update and all of that information. And then for us school committee reps, we're currently exploring topics to focus on and discuss as a group for this year. We have discussed potentially supporting the school committee in the conversation around graduation requirements and how that specifically impacts all of our students, and especially bringing student input with that. Especially, I know there was talk about a 2-year world language requirement. So we will potentially be discussing about that. And that seems like it.
Very good. First of all, thank you for that comprehensive report out. I really appreciate it. And my question is, if I needed to go to the ensemble or the winter concert or the dance, which one should I go to? And keep in mind that I can't dance, so I think it's really between the winter concert and the ensemble. So we are really excited. This is a really exciting time of year for all of our band and chorus and theater programs, so I agree. Thank you very much for representing the group. Do you have any questions of the school committee members, or do school committee members have any question for Elias?
Do you have an inside track on some Frozen tickets?
Unfortunately, those have sold out, but it's great that we are celebrating them, and I mean, there's gonna be another one this spring, so we're looking forward to that when that will be announced. And
Well, what an amazing weekend for your friends. They have offered a staff-only rehearsal, dress rehearsal, so that's sold out by staff. Then 3 sold-out shows over the weekend. I was here last week, I think, over the weekend, and they were all putting the set together and painting the set. And there were, at least 50 or so students behind the stage doing the work, along with a lot of support from families with the tools and the different construction things going on. So what a great weekend this will be to celebrate. And then we look forward to the holiday concerts as well. So thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
You'll be back and we'll see you again, and we very much appreciate you being here. You did a great job tonight, so thank you so much.
Thank you
You're welcome.
for having me.
You're welcome.
It's great to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Next on my superintendent's report, I just also want to let folks know that Frozen will be happening this week. Elias took all my big notes, so now I have to edit on the fly here. Very exciting weekend for the high school. We're hosting the Frozen performance over the weekend. We also have our football team in the state semifinals, as was reported by our student rep. If they win on Friday, they go to Gillette Stadium for the Super Bowl, which is exciting. It also reminds me to thank all of our fall coaches, all of our fall staff who do clubs, theater, arts, everybody who's working with our students after school, K to 12, have put in a lot of work to start the school in a way that makes it engaging for young people. They want to run to school. Some run for math, some run for theater, some run for volleyball, but they're all running to school at every level of the district because a lot of those things happen after school as well. And what we're also thankful for during this Thanksgiving season is also our educators, our staff, and our families, but also the PTOs that are supporting the schools, and also right now supporting a lot of food drives and different things that give back to the community, and also the Milton Foundation for Education for their work. Most recently at the holiday, the road race that they put on in an effort to support science in the schools. So we can't say thank you enough to the community and the PTOs and the volunteers that support our schools. Today, we had a very good professional development for our elementary educators. The early release today was for conferences for middle school and high school for families to meet their teachers, but our elementary staff was working on the through line of our 5 priorities, talking about best practices for supporting students who are not meeting with success and how we can learn together about what's needed in the classroom to support the good work that they do. And that will be the session that our middle school and high school staff do in December when we have that second early release. So we're continuing the through line of our 5 priorities of supporting teachers in the classroom related to that good work. So that is my update as your superintendent. The next thing on the agenda is all school committee members have received the 24-25 annual report. Stephanie O'Keefe reports that this is something that you should be reading, making sure that whatever is in there is accurate. If you wanted to add anything, please email your edits to Stephanie and myself, and we will incorporate those. And if there are any edits between now and our meeting on December 3rd, we will incorporate those, and then we will vote the final draft to be sent to the town at our December 3rd meeting. Any questions about the town report? Perfect. It is very exciting. Our next group, if you would like to take the front table, if you want to add a chair, is our hardworking Tucker Playground Committee, who I have had the good fortune to meet with on several occasions in order to support their work, to support the Tucker School and the playground. Very ambitious and very fast-moving success that our Tucker parents have achieved already. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your work on behalf of the Tucker community and the Tucker Playground. And I would ask if you could each introduce yourself, and then we'll have your slides up here that we can go through one by one on behalf of your work.
My name is Marika Goldman Silva, and Haley and I are co-presidents of the PTO this year. Leslie McCarthy, I'm past president of PTO. And Haley Byron, the other co-president of PTO.
And we're gonna ask you to use your cafeteria voice because we have one microphone in the ceiling. And we're really excited and thankful that you're here tonight to be able to kick off the work that's happening and the planning work that's happening for the Tucker Playground. And we're hoping that this begins a very big push for you and your team in order to bring attention and support to your project. So thank you for being here, and the slides are yours.
Great, thank you. So to begin, we're just gonna give you a little bit of background of kind of why we feel this is such an important project, how we got here. Many of you know Tucker's current playground is over 20 years old with outdated structures and ground surface of wood chips and asphalt. You can actually go to the next slide. The existing rock wall, one of the few features that children enjoy, is broken and unsafe to use. Many of the children play soccer or kickball on an asphalt surface when the fence is up and rimmed with curbs. And we have accidents all the time, whether it's going to the ER for a chipped tooth or stitches on the face, falling from the slides. It's just not really a fun place for anyone anymore. And we've had even, kids and teachers say, I can't wait for it to be indoor recess, which is never a good thing in the school. And so our goal is really to create a space that supports active and creative and social play. If you can go to the next slide, just a little about our goals. With a small landlocked footprint, this redesign is an opportunity for the Tucker community to really come together and reimagine the outdoor space, make it exciting for the kids to be outside. We really have no grass space for the kids to play on right now. They just aren't excited by it. We want the kids to enjoy recess and take pride in the space where they learn to play together. And this is also a chance to support outdoor learning and environmental awareness through the gardens and the outdoor classroom, creating a space where the teachers and the community can come together. There's not a lot of parks and green space on this side of town, so we really want it to be for the Tucker students and staff, but also for the neighbors to enjoy as well. We're a walking school, and so people pass this by every day, and right now they see caution tape and a broken fence, and it's just not something that we really want to create a safe space for them. So if you can go to the next slide, we just put some pictures of our existing conditions, and I think we have a few more we could probably even add since these have taken place. So we are, and so we feel some sense of urgency in this, that we know, if we really wait for kind of capital funding from the schools in the town, it could be 5 or 6 years, and we really want our kids. I know my 5th grader won't enjoy this, but I hope my 2nd grader will at least have some sense of pride when they are out at outdoor recess.
And we're also worried about our own children's safety, so I think we want this to happen before our children and more children get injured on the playground.
And because Tucker is a Title I school, we certainly have families and community members that have been able to support it, but the other schools have had the opportunity to make some incremental updates to their playground over the last decade or so, whether it's different equipment, better fields. We don't even have the ability to have fields, new ground surfacing, extra play space. We just don't have necessarily the funds to go to our community to fund the entire project. So that's why we're seeking grants and seeking support from the town and the wider community and really making this a big push over the next 18 months to get this done.
Yeah, so if you go to the next slide, we can talk about the phases. So the early planning began last year. And I'll go into more detail on what we did with that. Right now we're in the design and construction preparation phase, interviewing, or Haley will talk more about that in a second. And then the goal is to have this built over the summer, not this summer, but next summer, so that our kids can start enjoying it by fall 2027. If you go to the next slide. It began with the mural, which went up in the spring last year, and just trying to just visually change the appearance of the outdoor play area, and which was a collaboration between a muralist and the kids as part of our resident artist program at Tucker. If you go to the next slide, we had a phase 1 planning committee group, which has consisted of parents, staff, and our administration who's here today. And we worked with Bill Madden, who's a landscape architect in town, who helped us just explore different ideas and what made sense for Tucker, whether we could just fix what was currently there or if it made sense to redesign the area. We had a staff survey that went out and just assessed what staff felt the needs were in fixing the place area. And we used all of that information to, if you go to the next slide, create some different design ideas. And once we looked at the space, because there's a lot of different moving pieces with like trucks have to get through to get to the dumpsters, yes. And then it's such a small footprint, and we'd love our gym teacher to be able to have gym outside in addition to recess, and just enhancing the outdoor classrooms. We decided that we really needed to redesign the entire space. Go to the next slide. In June, we conducted a site survey that we funded through PTO funds. And that leads us now into phase 2, which Haley will talk about.
Where we're smack in the middle of phase 2. And we've been able, the next slide, please. We've been able to complete a lot. But as you can see, what we have left to do can seem a little daunting, but we've made progress that I'll describe. This is our estimated total budget of $621,000. We've done the first 2 items. Right now, we're in the middle of hiring a landscape architect and engineers in order to complete those plans. And then this is a very rough projected estimate of how much it will cost to actually build this playground. If you go to the next slide, please. So, like we said, we've already completed the mural, we've already completed the site survey, and we received the really great news that CPC has recommended that we receive $100,000 approximately for our design costs, and so that will have to be approved in town meeting. But that's kind of what we're using to go forward and hire this landscape architect. And we've been meeting with our local officials, state reps, and they have discussed with us and with each other and committed to seeking an earmark from the state for $100,000 for a construction cost. So even though we anticipate that this project is going to be quite expensive, we are already about $250,000 at least projected into it. So we've made some progress, and we actually are finally starting to see that this might happen. And so if you go to the next slide. So right now, what is happening is we received proposals from 4 design firms. We're interviewing them, and we expect to make our decision this month. Next slide, please. And that's kind of now where we ramp up fundraising. So we're going to be approaching the entire town, essentially, and asking them to support this project, because we can't do it with the Tucker community alone, as we've already discussed. We are planning a mailer that goes out to the precincts, all the families in the precincts that attend Tucker, trying to get at some alumni. We are going to have a spring event, hopefully, and we already have a website up that is tracking our progress and can give people information on the project whenever they want to see it, which we'll be updating periodically anytime we have news, or at least every month. We'll be seeking grants from different foundations, and we'll constantly have a dialogue going with our community and all the people that are involved. So that's kind of where we've been, where we are right now, and where we anticipate being over the next few months to meet the admittedly ambitious timeline of having the new playgrounds by next summer. And we're excited to let you all know this is what's happening, and hopefully receive support from you and eventually from the whole community if they can come out and kind of show Tucker that this is a really important project and a priority for the town.
Thank you very much. And if I'm watching the show tonight, how would I could I donate right now, and what would that look like, and how would I go about that? If you wanna put a plug in for how I would go and do
You
that.
absolutely can do that right now. You can go to tuckerpto.milton.org. I always forget the last,
tuckerpto.com.
tuckerpto.com.
There's a new drop down that says Playground Project. It went live yesterday.
Last night.
And if you click on it, it will earmark your money directly towards the playground funds.
As simple as possible. You click it, you donate, and it will go right to the playground.
Project.
So I encourage everybody watching this show to actually go do that now and don't wait till tomorrow. And this will be great for us to be able to direct folks to between now through the spring. Anytime you want to do something good for the Milton Public Schools, you can actually go on tuckerpto.com and donate for the playground. That would be a great way to direct your money to something that you'll be able to see, use, and take part in the community. And so please, if you're looking to support the schools, you can support the Tucker Playground that way, and that is supporting the schools. So we appreciate the availability of that being so accessible to folks. Are there any other questions or any questions for the school committee?
And I'll just leave you with a little handy reference point. A lot of that information is on the website and was in our presentation, but just something if you
And
Look at it tonight.
the spring gala that we're hoping to plan, we also are hoping that it will be a reunion of sorts for alumni to come to as well. Tucker alumni, Tucker parents, but also the entire community, and we're hoping to kind of gather more support as a fun event like that.
So speaking of alumni of the Tucker School, the lieutenant colonel who spoke at the Veterans Day ceremony that started at Milton High and went up to the town hall here and spoke, who now works at the Pentagon, is a Tucker School graduate. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Denton graduated Tucker, I don't know what year, but was at Milton High School in 1988. I was his JV basketball coach, and I'm dating the heck out of myself. And he was an incredibly gracious speaker on Veterans Day. Would love to give back to the community. He grew up in Milton. I think his mom still lives in Milton. His family does. So he might be a nice reach for that group of generation of Tucker graduates who are now like in their 50s. I mean, there's folks that go back a long time. So I know we've met a couple of times in the summer and then once again in the fall, connecting some alumni and finding names and getting back to you and things like that, whatever we can do to support the work. And also when we get to the construction part of this, we spoke about getting together with facilities and running it through that group so we can see whatever in-kind services that we can use through our facilities department in order to lower the cost and make the program happen and the project happen. Will be a part where we can intervene in hopefully a positive way from a work relief perspective and a cost relief perspective. So we appreciate very, very much and we're grateful for the work that you're doing. This is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for all your work. Y'all made tremendous progress. We talked about the playgrounds as a whole in terms of the facility advisory a couple of years ago. So y'all made much more progress than I think we did. One of the things we were talking about with Tom McCarthy, and I don't know how integrated he is the issue of the trash pickup. And there was conversation at the time, I might have been before Tom,
Yes.
with Chris, of like, can the trash pickup be moved to the other side of the building where the edge of the parking lot kind of thing, in order to create that separation, because obviously driving that giant truck is tremendously impactful to the design, planning, and like, how close we can get to equipment, and those drivers, it's a big vehicle, so it can run into things. So anyways, has that come up, any like success on
Oh,
making
yeah,
them move
it's
that?
come up.
Yeah. Sorry.
We talked with Tom and with the landscape architect, and I think we've, you know, as it stands right now, because of the width of the alley and how the school is adjacent to the neighborhood, I think the trucks still have to come through here unless there's some pretty big structural changes on the actual school. But Tom and the landscape director, I think we're
We're trying
confident.
to like turn that into a feature itself. If we have to have this certain right of way always available, maybe that's a track. Like we're trying to turn that opening into a feature of
Where
the
it's
playground.
not just a parking lot,
Right.
it's more of a kind of a windy road, you know, or something that it is integral to the playground, but also it's not an eyesore and it doesn't feel like this is how the dump truck gets in, this is the kids' track, or this is the kids'.
That's why we have such a huge focus on the design portion, because we have a lot of considerations like that
Yeah.
that we're trying to turn into features.
We've been visiting different schools throughout, you know, I was up in Arlington and in Boston and just trying to find other schools that have these small landlocked places that really don't have the grass and the fields and the space to expand and how you can be creative. And I think some schools have done it really well and some schools just plop a playground down. And I think we don't wanna just plop a playground down, which is why we really want to invest in the design of it and make it a sense of pride for everyone. And I think one thing we realized in going with grants, looking for grant support, until we have the designs, we really can't get funded by a lot of foundations and grants. So that's why we really wanted to get the design firm on board, because then that will open up more doors for additional funding. So we're excited to be at that stage where then hopefully the grant process can happen this spring.
So we're also hoping that our letters of support that grant when you're going out to
Yes,
provide
exactly.
that solicitation.
We're really appreciative of
Right.
you and Katie Blake have been really helpful in terms of helping us and guiding us to how we should be having these conversations, so we're grateful.
And Katie is who recommended we go after state, talking with representative
I was
senators
gonna ask that, so let the community know who you've connected with and who you've already have visiting
Yeah,
the site. I think
so-
that's Friday, correct?
So we talked with Senator Driscoll and Representative Fluker Reed, and then we're talking with Representative Wells Friday. But Senator Driscoll and Representative Fluker Reed have both written letters in support of earmarking $100,000. And then they're gonna go after the fair share, which is not a reliable,
It's a newer program, so
program,
it's
but
not as.
potentially they'll get us more.
You guys have been busy.
So, if it's okay, I just would like to say, Marika, Leslie, Haley, like, thank you so much. The three of you are amazing. These three women show up every day to do this, but so many things at Tucker. You have been for years, and I know you're gonna keep doing that. And you work with an amazing team of other volunteer parents at Tucker who do so much. And I know that that kind of work can be thankless, and, you know, I don't honestly feel like I or our Tucker community or the broader Milton community can ever really properly appreciate you for everything that you're doing, but the ambition that you're bringing to it, the urgency, like it really makes me proud to be part of the Tucker community, to just see you like leaning in, stepping up, and like showing up in this setting with this amazing plan and everything you've accomplished already, but just the confidence that like we can do this and it's gonna be amazing for our kids. And I just really appreciate you so much. I'll be trying to certainly be helpful and supportive. I know we all will. But thank you for everything that you've already done and everything you're doing. And, you know, you're very appreciated.
Thank you. We
by
appreciate that.
many of us, so. Colleagues that you're also representing, awesome, so thank
And
you.
wonderful leaders too behind us.
Well, this is Tucker's night, so we have good news story with the
Huge
playground.
advocates for our school.
Good news story with the work that we're doing to support the great leadership of the Tucker School on behalf of the wonderful Tucker School community and supporting the students and staff in the community. So you are representing that support in terms of what we're doing for the Tucker community, what you're doing for the Tucker community. And then Celeste and Caroline will come up and talk about the support and the leadership they're giving as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we'd like to welcome Celeste Hoag, principal of the Tucker School, and Caroline Morton, assistant principal of the Tucker School. Celeste is in her second year as the principal of the Tucker School. Celeste and Caroline create a very, very vibrant and clear and effective leadership team for their staff, for the students, and for the families that they work with and their stakeholders. Very, very excited tonight to be able to hear the concerns that Celeste brought to us related to what she would like to do in order to support the students at Tucker. Reviewing the data, identifying areas of concern, being creative in her leadership to shift resources that we already have in the Milton Public Schools, seek partnership with the different curriculum leadership folks that we have within the schools, and then seek funding, small amount of funding, but seeking funding in order to support the work of really creating an instructional leadership team at Tucker in order to identify and take strategic action to support students who may not be meeting a benchmark, which is one of our 5 values and priorities this year. So I'm very proud and I'm very, very happy to introduce Caroline and Celeste, and we have your presentation on the board. And again, thank you for making this the second half of a very good news story for the Tucker School and Tucker community.
So thanks very much, Mr. Phelan. I also want to just say thank you to our PTO leadership. We had a great PTO meeting last night. Carolyn and I go for like the first meeting, the first hour of the meeting, and are there to witness the great work that they do. So thank you very much. So we're happy to be here tonight, and thank you for engaging with us. We'd like to share some of the strategic approaches that we're taking to some of the recent MCAS data that you've seen. You saw it, I believe, at your last meeting. We developed these strategies in conjunction with our partners at the school. We connected with past leadership that are connected still at the school and at the district level. We connected with our sort of union representatives in the building and our grade level facilitators, in addition to teachers as well. We've reviewed most of the things, I believe all of the things that we'll discuss tonight with the school community. We try to have an open dialogue with our community members that we get to work with every day. And we plan to have sort of check-ins with some of these approaches that you'll hear about. So this could be something that changes midstream, right, Carla? And because that's what it's about, responding to data and whatnot. I also want to thank Mr. Phelan and Carla Koza for being great thought partners. They didn't know me well, and I sort of came down with a pretty heavy plan and presented it and wanted their feedback on it pretty soon after we got the data released. So, and I also want to thank our assistant principal. She does a great job every day. She shows up. She's committed to our staff and our students, and she's a real thought partner as well. So
We really do have just an excellent staff.
We do.
And it's a good mix of veterans who've been in the district and in the school for a long time, as well as some new teachers who bring some great energy to the building. So
Mark, you can go to the next slide.
I'm not sure what.
Okay, that's okay, that's all right. So the first couple of slides, I think this is the third slide maybe, but is our MCAS data. You've seen the MCAS data. We're really not here to dive deep into the MCAS data. We've analyzed the MCAS data as instructional leaders. We've engaged with our staff about that MCAS data. We continue to do that. We continue to look at relevant real-time data with our staff that's ongoing, including progress monitoring data. So we use the tools that V spoke to you about with regards to that progress monitoring data, such as Performance Matters, which is a real tool that we lean on heavily. So we don't plan to sort of unpack some of this data unless you have specific questions. So Mark, you can go to the next slide. I believe
slide 6.
slide 6. There we go. So we developed what we're calling a school-wide strategic response to our MCAS data. So we have 4 areas that, like Mr. Phelan said, that we sort of thought about realigning, because that's what it's about, looking at the resources that we have in-house and thinking about Are we using them effectively? Could we realign them? Could we strategically shift some of our practices? And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. So we'll unpack each one, but the first one is going to be, we're going to talk about the creation of an instructional leadership team with existing resources. We'll talk about how we've structured common planning time with grade level teams. We'll talk about some targeted increased support from district leaders that I asked for and received wholeheartedly from our district partners. We'll also talk about the increased use of a current position in the elementary inclusion specialist. And we'll talk about also a current position that we have, a team chair, and increasing that FTE from a 0.6 to a 0.8. The desired outcome for all of these strategic response items aims to strengthen student achievement and growth, improve the instructional quality and consistency, and strengthen school leadership and coherence. And it's bolded there on the slide, over a 3-year period. Some of you probably know I've done some turnaround work in my past appointments, and I don't consider this turnaround work. I consider this sort of a shifting of resources, realignment of focuses, in working with the resources we have and maybe asking for additional resources. But anytime you do anything like that, for those of you who are involved with schools and whatnot, it takes time. So that's why we're not looking for a quick fix. And it also takes time to build that capacity. So that's why we've sort of noted that 3-year period. We're looking, I think, in our next set of conversations with Mr. Phelan and Carla Koza, we're going to be looking probably, we have sort of a tentative date to check in January. We're probably looking to see some benchmarks and to think about how we know things are working, and midpoint check-ins as soon as like mid-year data and end of the year data for year one and things like that. So that's where we're headed. And we're just going to unpack each one with you, and we'll take questions at the end if that's okay. All right, Mark, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the first thing that we thought of was a great resource we have in our building, which I leaned on last year as the new instructional leader of the building, is our grade level facilitators. It's an existing position here in the Milton Public Schools at the elementary school level. From what I understand, every grade at every school has what's called the GLF, and they get a stipend. I went to the superintendent and I asked for that stipend to be increased from $400 to $600. And I asked to increase that so that we could create an instructional leadership team at the building. That's been something in some other schools that I've worked in, I've been really able to leverage. It helps to bring the school around some instructional priorities, and it allows an opportunity for peer-to-peer conversation. Our GLFs are leaders in the school. They're already existing in the school, and they have really good relationships with the teams that they lead. We will have a monthly instructional leadership team meeting. We hope to start in December, sort of develop some norms, develop some focus areas, and then jump right into the work in January. Those team meetings monthly will be about an hour long. There'll be some prep work for it with regards to reviewing data or coming with questions or soliciting information from their team members, so we can really use that 60 minutes and hit the ground running. The meetings will probably occur either in the morning or in the afternoon, and it'll really be a time to sort of look at things from sort of zoom out at a school level and then go deeper at a grade level, and then possibly even grade spans too, K-2 or 3-5. And then in addition to that, which most of them already do, I believe, they lead the common planning time, that CPT, every other week when it's not led by Caroline or myself. So again, that desired outcome is to elevate teacher leadership at Tucker, build instructional coherence, and create that sustainable structure over that 3-year period of that shared leadership there. And we've asked for some additional funding for that as well. And ultimately, we believe, and the research typically has shown that those factors have led to increased student achievement and growth.
If you could go to the next slide, I'm going to expand a little bit on that CPT structure, that common planning time that we already have within the school day. One of the benefits of being a smaller school is we have 3 classes per grade level. We also have 3 specialist teachers per grade level, art, music, and PE. So we're able to have, for most days, a common time outside of the lunch and prep time for teachers where they can meet with their grade level teams while students are at their specials. So common planning time is led by either myself or Celeste every other week. We try to lead it together if we can, if the day allows it. And it's something that's in the contract that it's led by administration every other week. And then on the off weeks, it's led by our GLFs, the grade level facilitators. So with this shift, we're looking to implement that structure so student achievement and growth is the priority of each common planning time. It's something that we had last year, but we've made a little bit more of an instructional shift in that time spent. It's about 40 minutes with grade level teams once a week. And the shift that we've made for this year, rather than having, we still do a little bit of housekeeping. Let's talk about student concerns you may have. Let's talk about something that's coming up for the week that you have questions about. But really what we've been doing this year is using tools for lesson planning, lesson internalization, some tools from DESE, and really unpacking the grade level standards that they're teaching. What does mastery look like? What are you using to assess students? What is the knowledge that they need to have before entering the lesson? So what's been helpful about the common planning that we've had so far is really being able to unpack those standards with everyone and then make those shifts in the curriculum if we need to ensure that students are really accessing that tier 1 instruction and then getting the supports that they need if they're not mastering the standards. So like I said, that's led by myself and Celeste or the grade level facilitators from the instructional leadership team. So the strategy that Celeste just mentioned on the last slide will really go hand in hand with that instructional leadership team. We can kind of take that zoomed out approach and we can lean on those expert teachers to lead common planning if on the week that we're not there to keep that message clear from week to week about lesson planning and lesson internalization. So next slide. Yep.
So we've asked them for some targeted increased district support from some district leaders. We decided to start small because we don't want to take on too much, right, initially. So Carolyn and I reached out to the math department head or curriculum director. We reached out to the literacy director. We also reached out to the DEIB director, and we reached out to the head of guidance. So we're asking folks to come and work with us. We didn't really specify how much time, maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, be at the school, typically every 7 days, because that's what works for some of the folks that work in the middle school, and to either attend common planning time with us, either go in and do some learning walks into some classrooms, to maybe unpack a little data with us, and to also kind of look at classroom culture and structures. So we're sort of in the middle. I think we've had maybe 2 rounds of it, and it's been going well. We've been taking that feedback and then planning ahead for upcoming common planning times. We've been taking their feedback and also kind of planning for some student support services. So it looks different with the different directors. The nice thing is Carolyn and I, we were able, for me, she already had these relationships. We built some really good relationships with these 4 folks last year. So for them coming in, it seems really natural anyways. And it's nice to get out into classrooms and to see things through a different lens. Caroline has a great background. I try to keep, my background up with my my own professional development, but we're not math experts. And sometimes being next to the math director, looking at a particular lesson, just a small shift that you can mention to a teacher of, launching it this way or doing that, it makes a difference. And sometimes that's not something that we're able to do. So it's been really nice to have that support. And again, the focus is that we want to, help teachers make any shifts. We want to, as school leaders, make any shifts that they can suggest and really have that collaboration time with the ultimate goal for improving student achievement and growth. So.
Be able to give that kind of real-time feedback as
Yeah.
well to teachers in the moment with, not so much pressure that it's
Yeah.
a formal evaluation.
And it's been all very public too. We've
Yeah.
let the teachers know, like, this is when these directors will be here. This is the time frame because we don't want any surprises, right? They're here, we might be going into this grade level, or we might just be walking the building in general. And we don't stay in classes very long. I think the other day, Kat DeRoche was in, I believe on Tuesday. And we, I think we're in classes for probably 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. And then we went into 3 classrooms, and then we were able to kind of debrief. And she gave us some feedback that Caroline and I can take in our future planning. So we're not sitting for 30 minutes. We're not taking any notes. So there's definitely deliberate things we're doing because we care deeply about our educators and our staff members. And we don't want to create any undue stress or any undue anxiety. We want everyone to know that, we're coming at this in a supportive manner.
I can't think of anything better as an educator than, looking and prepping for a math lesson and then seeing the K-12 math director in the hallway and being able to stop him for a quick chat about it and make those kind of real-time adjustments rather than feel like, oh, do I need to send him an email? And it's, it kind of takes away that barrier and gives you that district support, that access point to speak with someone, and then lets the staff know that this is a district priority. There are district staff here coming to us to support. If you could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to just talk a little bit more about the increased use of our elementary inclusion specialist. This is again another structure that's already in place, but really wanted to leverage her and maximize the time that she spends in our building. She's at Tucker on Wednesday mornings for our student support team. And she leads the student support team process at all 4 elementary schools. And she has a wealth of knowledge from her own background in occupational therapy and in working in the Milton Public Schools for a long time and working in all 4 schools. So with Maureen Butler, we're asking her to spend some time in the classrooms with either Celeste, myself, or just connect directly with the classroom teachers for a consult. So it's a little bit similar to what we're asking of the coordinators in that we're looking for just a fresh set of eyes on students and somebody who has a different background than being just a classroom teacher. She has a wealth of knowledge of little instructional shifts that that teachers can make to make that tier 1 instruction a little more accessible to students. She might be walking in and identifying students who might need a different support in building towards mastery of content or a skill. So she's been already in classrooms as well, providing some consult time to meet with teachers and staff and just providing resources and strategies around student engagement and the learning process, which has been really beneficial. And she knows the students that we might be keeping a closer eye on and providing some additional tier 2 supports because she's leading those student support team meetings. So she already has the background knowledge of students. She knows the building, she knows the staff, and it's someone who can, go in a really nice way and provide some feedback that doesn't feel like it's an administrator coming in. We do like to provide feedback, but it's just a different lens and a different background that she has. So we really wanted to leverage her because it's a system that's already in place. So we don't want to create something new that it takes people time to get acclimated to. They all know her. They all know the student support team process. So our thought is to maximize that time that she's already in the building and use her with just a little bit more thought in the time that she's done with student support. So
And we track it too.
Yeah.
We keep a log of the classroom she's been in. She kind of completes the engagement that she's had with that classroom teacher, and the teachers know that she's coming in. And sometimes we've also used our calls for assistance data to kind of say, hey, what's going on in that particular room? Maybe we'll have Maureen kind of check in with them when she's here on Wednesday with this targeted use of her time. So so far it's been about maybe 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
And people, we haven't heard any negative feedback. Again, we have a union check-in every month with our union representatives in the building, and that'll just be that constant dialogue. And any kind of small shifts that we need to make, we'll make as well, so that we make sure that everyone understands that the support. So, and and again, the focus is so that students are engaged in the learning process in the class. So that's the desired outcome. And then Mark, if you want to go to the last slide. Team chair, excuse me, the next slide. So we have, sorry, one back, sorry about that. It's been a long day with slides. So we have a team chair for special education in our building. She was budgeted this year for 0.6. The caseload's pretty large at Tucker. The process is long. However, she's a great employee. She does a great job. We meet every Monday. We kind of plan out what her week is looking like, what supports does she need from Caroline or myself, and whatnot. She has meetings with the special education team, which is amazing, at Tucker every Thursday. But we're looking to increase her from a 0.6 to a 0.8, not only so that she can have additional time to do her current duties, but also to layer on, similar to the elementary inclusion specialist, also to kind of layer on like what's going on with our students with disabilities. Are they on track to meet the goals on their IEPs? How are they doing in class when the special education teacher might not be pushing in for grade B services? So we're going to, that will begin in December. That's when sort of that change happens, and we will be looking to do a similar leverage of her position in her time that we are using the elementary inclusion specialist. So we plan to unpack that a little bit more with our staff. They're aware of it, but what does that support look like? There might be some classroom observations of a student who might be struggling when the special educator isn't in the room, or when the paraprofessional or educational assistant isn't in the room. Are there small shifts that can be done by the classroom teacher? Are there structures that can be left in place before the special education teacher leaves to service other students? So that's it's all about student engagement, again, with leveraging this position. So, we did ask for that increase there. And then I believe, Mark, is the last slide. Here's the last slide. So again, this is just a review of what we've presented. And again, just thinking that, this strategic response with these 5 levers or action steps, really we're looking to aim and strengthen student achievement and growth, improve instructional quality with consistency, and strengthen school leadership and coherence. And again, just sort of emphasizing that 3-year plan. And like I said earlier, we want to, once we've gone through this for a month or 2, check back in with Mr. Phelan and with Carla Koza and think about what are some benchmarks look like over the next few months before the end of the year. Because I do think that with a plan like this, we need to be reflective with, are the strategies working? Do they need to be shifted? Are the focus areas the right ones and whatnot? And I think you can do that when you put in place some data points. It'll be student data. I believe it will be observation data of teacher adult practices. It'll be, and the student data could look like the DIBELS middle of the year, the iReady middle of the year, but also calls for assistance, student engagement, student output in class. So it might be that soft, more qualitative data as well. But we hope to do that and put that in place and moving forward and be able to check in on that. So we appreciate your attention to our slides, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. We could try.
So I first want to say thank you very much, and I want to say to the school committee and to the Tucker PTO and families, this is educational leadership in action. This is what it looks like. This is what an educational leader and leaders do. they look at data, they introduce themselves to the community, they take a good firm view of what's working, what's not working, ingratiate the families, build relationships with teachers, and then look at the data and decide what actions need to happen. Then they go to leadership and they ask for it, they advocate for it. And that is exactly what Celeste has done. I want to commend her for being someone who came right into the district, did a great job last year, advocated over the summer, looked at her scores, collaborated with existing personnel and staff and resources, asked for a very small amount of additional resources, which the school committee has already approved, and now is taking those action steps in the same year that the data that she's seeing, what's working, what's not. So as a superintendent, and Carla and I have already been in learning walks at the Tucker, I think it was there last Friday. The ability for this leadership team to observe teaching and learning, praise good practices, support the staff, unpack lessons, know every child, understand and seek more support and understanding what children need in order to be successful, not just from a math perspective, but from an engagement perspective. And garnering all the resources and all the people in the right way that attack a situation that certainly needs support and ongoing. This is not a one-year thing. I agree with Celeste, and I appreciate her saying that this is a 3-year plan that will adjust over time according to what the data says and what the students are telling us they need, and according to what the teachers are telling us that they need.
Yeah.
And teacher voice in working in schools is huge. Celeste's ability to work with the grade level administrators, the GLFs, and listen to the staff, find out what they need, incorporate teacher voice into leadership positions now through that. And also want to thank the teachers for being open and engaging and actually motivated. And I want to thank the Milton Educators Association for saying whatever they need, ask them what they need, and we'll say okay. There was no written document, there was no big discussion. What does the team need? Please have them talk to the grade level facilitators, and then whatever they decide they want, we will agree to. So this is a comprehensive leadership move by a dynamic team that is engaging a community in all the right ways that we believe will be important and lead to successful student outcomes. And having been on learning walks and in the school, if I was a parent, I'd be so happy to know that my staff know every child's name, that they're in classrooms every day, that they're talking about teaching and learning, supporting students. This is very, very, I'm very grateful for your work and your leadership, and I'm very thankful to the staff that are jumping on the work with you and partnering with you. And so, and when we talk about it at the district level, we're presenting the data to the community 2 weeks ago. So what are you doing? This is what we're doing. This is what happens when you look at data and you see good news and challenging news. You come up with a plan from expert educational leaders, you help them implement it, and then you get out of the way, right? I need to just get out of the way and let the good people do the work. So we're trying to provide that support. So thank you for the school committee for supporting the small request of support that this team has asked for. It will go a long way. And we look forward to hearing how it goes and checking in, and also finding out what additional things that you need, which is part of our FY27 conversation that we're having actively right now as well. So thank you.
And the team at Tucker is very dynamic in every classroom, and Mr. Phelan and Carla have been in the classrooms. Teachers are teaching grade level standards, students are engaged. We're asking for small shifts, for reflection, for we're hoping to provide better supports for that with the structures that we're putting into place. We in no way, shape, or form want to say things weren't being done. I think we're just looking to make some shifts in focus. And people are very engaged with that. So I want to make sure I make that clear. So
Yeah, the learning walks are just so, watching a grade 3 teacher with 7 students on the rug doing a lesson in math while the other 18 students are engaged in different groups at different levels of work, differentiating the work, using technology, using workbooks, using pen and paper, everybody engaged, one teacher, 24 students, right? Amazing, going into a class where we're writing, students have pencils in their hand, they're actually using a graphic organizer, the teacher is at the board, they're going through the writing process. the students are working hard, the teachers are working hard. And good things will happen, and good things have been happening, and these
Very good
small
things.
leverages that we are asking for their opinion to do with the teacher feedback and their support and their voice in this, it'll all go a long way. Good teachers, good leadership will result in good things for students, and that's what Tucker's all about. Any questions for the dynamic duo we have at the table?
One,
Sure.
actually. Can you explain just a little bit more, the role of the grade level facilitator, like who that is, how they're chosen, how they work? Do you mind just
Yeah,
having
sure. I might lean on
Yeah,
Caroline on
it's
that.
something
Yeah.
I was a grade level facilitator when I was previously a second grade teacher, but it's almost like a volunteer position, but it's somebody who's been in the district or in the school for a while and volunteers to kind of be the team lead essentially. So when Celeste and I have a question about something, you know, we have a group email with one of those teachers for every 6 of the grade levels. So it's somebody who wants to do the work of kind of being the point person of the team, wants to facilitate, feels comfortable facilitating, has kind of built relationships with the staff members, feels comfortable with the content. You know, we wouldn't want someone new to a grade level being the grade level facilitator. They're just getting used to new curriculum. Same for somebody who's new to the school. So it's somebody who's more so a veteran of the grade level and the school.
And
So
a lot
there's
of ti-
there's one in K,
Yes.
there's one grade level facilitator for every grade in the building.
Yes.
And this is something that's in every elementary school, but they are the teacher leader for that grade.
And a lot of times, Amanda, they'll on the off weeks when they don't have common planning time with us, per the contract, that's when it's not administrative led, they'll lead the common planning and they'll hear some concerns from their team members, and they might, and last year, in the grade level, the GLFs at Tucker, I found to be very dynamic last year. And this year as well, they're the same group essentially, and they would reach out to the curriculum coordinators on their own, CC, Caroline, and myself, and say, you know, we were talking at our CPT this week, you know, with just teachers, and we're really confused about this particular standard, or we wanna move around the module teaching with math for this term because of some data. So it, you know, like Caroline said, they're leaders already. We're just looking to build upon that. We're looking to build in some coherence within the school and to have that time, because there were a couple of instances last year where I was used to having an instructional leadership team in my other buildings where I sort of was calling them to meet, and then I realized I'm like, oh, they only get paid this much and this is their responsibility, is that I can't call them, you know, as a team at 8:00 on a Wednesday morning because I'm confused about something, or I want to get clear as a school about something and then push that message out to the teachers so that we're all on the same page level, on the page with that. So by doing this, leveraging the existing role, adding a little bit more, having some set time to meet, we'll really be able to have that coherence. That's our goal. So, and then with a roadmap, because every good ILT that I've worked with, either I've been a member of or a leader of, a part leader of, you know, you typically try and have a roadmap. You know, the roadmap might make some changes along the way, but there is a roadmap there for the year. You know, what are we trying to achieve? What are the pieces that we'll be looking at, and then going from there.
I think this new structure with being able to have all 6 of these educators in a room for an hour will be really beneficial. Just one example that I can think of is, you know, if we're meeting with a 3rd grade team and they're really trying to drill down on some writing to prepare their students for an open response on MCAS or any type of writing project, you know, the question is, well, what's the expectation in 2nd grade? What did they do in 2nd grade? What are those projects? 2nd grade is in the middle of teaching their content, 3rd grade is in the middle of meeting. It's hard to find that time to discuss with the previous grade level, oh, what were you doing? So it's building that coherence. Let's talk to the grade 2 leader, talk about what standards they really focused on, what writing projects they did, and really get a baseline of what these 3rd graders are capable of and what they can do to kind of push the instruction and push the rigor a little bit more in the classroom.
I have been a teacher for a while, so I'm very excited to hear all those great planning behind and
having the teacher's voice and having them contribute to lead the team and be the voice of the change is very essential. And I can foresee that this will be a very great plan to listen to in the next 3 years. And every year you come back, you will share with us a lot of great data. So I'm very excited to see this. I am just wondering, like, is the PD that we are providing in the district supportive of the things that you wanted to do with the teachers? And do you guys feel like you have enough time throughout the school day to have everything accomplished?
That's so that's an interesting point, something we reflected on. That might be something we come back to the district with. But right now, we have the PD time that we have with the district is meeting our needs because we're unpacking some things. Just today, we had our PD time. It was district sort of led but school-based delivered. And we, many things came up with talking about some consistency across grade spans. And I was thinking, as Caroline was taking notes, I'm thinking this will be the information that we use at our first ILT meetings because this is what's being generated by the grade level teams. There is also great resources within the building. Many people, not many, but several people from our Tucker staff gave presentations at the full day PD on November 4th. And we went to one of them together and we knew other staff that went to other ones. And we've already sort of booked them to present at faculty meetings. We had a faculty meeting on Tuesday. We have a dynamic math interventionist. She presented her PD in a sort of an abridged version at our 45-minute faculty meeting just 2 days ago. And today I observed a lesson with one of the teachers, using those math routines, implementing it and doing that. So that's great. I think it's great when you can have folks that you've worked with share things that they're presenting to the district and then take it back to the staff because then they're in the building and people can just go to them and say, oh, I like that. Can you come do it with me? Or can you look at this? So that's what we're hopeful for that. Yeah, so right now I think we're okay. We might come back. I ask for a lot. So
Teachers could always use more
Yeah.
time. I would
So
hate
I
to
don't
say
wanna-
that teachers, teachers would always love more time, yeah.
Yeah.
The math PD was something that was really helpful to see that full day PD. We were able to tap into the expertise we have really in-house in the district, but in the building. I was so excited about the math routines. I wanted to do them at lunch the next day with all the students. Like, that's their time to eat.
Yeah.
Like that's, but actually one of the PD that we did this afternoon with staff when we were able to visit all the classrooms and really check in. One of the grade levels in particular, I saw you could really see the grade level facilitator taking charge of that conversation and being the note taker and asking prompting questions of her team. So that was just another example of that strong grade level leader. But the PD for today was tied to priority 4, which is really focusing on those students who might not be meeting grade level standards or might
Which is a big
closing that
focus for us.
achievement gap. So I think the PD, what we have right now for the PD process is really beneficial to the staff, and they're able to lock into what tools do we have that we can use, how can we get other tools that we might need. So, even though it was just a couple of hours of professional development, I think it was really well aligned to what we're looking for as a school and as a district.
More context too. So as you know, we started with our priorities. We had our full day PD last week where we asked teachers about what they need. And in regards to priority 4, it was really about tools. I need more tools. And so what we had them do today is meet in teams and surface, what are we doing? So talk about it together and kind of with, just classroom educators, special educators, different specialists in the room and just surface everything that we think we know how to do to help our students who might be underperforming or not meeting benchmark. And then what might we be missing? And then we'll take all of that data from all of the schools, think it through as a leadership team and figure out, okay, what is it telling us? What's missing, as a leadership team, what's missing from what they're talking about and how do we fill those gaps for them? We'll come up with sort of a plan in terms of PD and training that will happen in the spring. But today was really about having the conversation and thinking through together, what are we doing? And what questions do we still have? And then leadership team will take all of that. And so in each school and each team might have different needs, and we'll have to assess that and try to figure out how to deliver. But that's kind of what they were doing today, just to kind of give you a little more context about it.
And at a district level, like Celeste and Caroline are listening to their staff and helping respond to their needs. This is what we did at the district level. So at the district level, 2 weeks ago, we asked what they needed. They told us they wanted tools to support that kind of work. We then responded to that by having each building ask those questions and engage in that work, and we'll bring that back. So we're hoping that the educators feel supported and valued and listened to, because they're the ones doing the work. And so it's our job to hear that and make adjustments. And at a district level, that's what's happening. And at the school-based level, it's even taken a step further with the pilots and the work that's going on with the Tucker School tonight.
I'm Nathan. First of all, just thank you for all of this work. It's great to see Tyler leadership here, it's young leadership. Just had a small fact. So you're calling this a strategy, which it definitely is. Like, you could have come in here with a list of 10 ideas to make change, and instead there's like 4 or 5, which means you're choosing not to do some things and instead you're choosing to do the things. And these are like hyper-focused, grounded in your theory as to what will change student learning. So I love that. And when I was listening to you talk about the pushing into classrooms and doing observations to you or folks from the district, it seemed like maybe you were, I imagine you're thinking about the change that's happening as a result of this strategy and like how people are internalizing that in the building. And it seemed like you were worried about like the stress that this would cause people. And I was reminded of, I don't know, this isn't my quote, it's someone else's, that says, how's it go? Amateurs need praise, professionals crave feedback, and everybody deserves gratitude. And so the gratitude is clear, and everyone at Tucker is professional. So they're all craving feedback. And I would just I would just say, if this is gonna be one of your small number of strategies, like, don't play your punches. Like, spend more time in classrooms. People want it. Lean in all the way to the choices that you're making this year, if you believe in them. And I think people will be grateful for it.
Yeah.
That's something that stood out to me when Celeste was hired. And I think this spring, it was my first year at Tucker, and she met with, maybe it was June, met with some teachers who had been in the building, and it really stuck out to me. One of the teachers said, we're looking for feedback. We want to see each other. We want to observe other classrooms. We want to see kind of those quick little teacher moves that teachers do to re-engage students. But it was something that maybe had made, I don't want to say fell off during COVID, but it was something that people weren't going into each other's classrooms as much. And some of our classrooms were online, but it really stuck out to me that she said, we're looking, we want that from leadership again. So something that they are definitely craving.
And I think it is wise to like sort of be paying attention to stress that people may feel from change. And I would just encourage you to lean into your ILT to help you with that.
Yeah, definitely.
And you could also, you're monitoring a bunch of information during this. Like, this is a piece of information. Like, how are people feeling about it? Check in on them, do a couple pulse surveys or something like that to get that data.
Thank you.
But thank you for this. This is great. I'm excited to see what happens.
What's great about Tucker is that the culture, I don't want to speak for you, but the culture was already there. There had been a lot of turnover, and I can just say, I didn't tell you I'd say this, but I'm really grateful for Celeste's leadership. And I know the PTO representatives would say the same as well, and having that instructional lens and background, it's really made that shift. But the culture, the teachers have really been the rock. When you think about, we have 4th and 5th graders who have said, who's going to be the principal next year, because they've had a new principal every year.
Next year,
Yeah,
Mrs. Hogan?
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be right back.
I'll be right here.
No, I had like 5th graders saying, I bet you're not gonna be here next year. I said, well, you're gonna be at the middle school. Oh, we'll be back to
Yeah.
check. I'm like, all right, how much you wanna bet?
Yeah,
You
because
know,
they just
so,
thought, you know, I
yeah,
have some kids
yeah.
that think, we have some kids that think, oh, there's just a new principal every
Every
year,
year.
and that became
Yeah.
the norm, so like, well, who's gonna be next year's
My child is
principal?
the first year she's ever
Yeah,
had a
so-
principal for the second time in a row.
And she's in
Yeah.
fourth grade,
Yeah.
so
Fourth
it's
grade, yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it's important that some of this is just building momentum from last year. And so this is the first time, you know, not to say there haven't been excellent leaders at Tucker, but you know, we're able to kind of build on some of that momentum and consistency a little bit, and you're not starting fresh every year with a new focus. You already have the context of the year prior. And I do feel really grateful that we have previous Tucker administration still working in the district. They've really leaned on them as well to kind of give us some other context too, and just so we're not, you know, starting from zero every year.
So one of the things that I think is great that you talked about is coming back and looking at sort of like what are the benchmarks. So in a way, it's not that it's like you've recognized issues, you've recognized concerns on where maybe there's underperformance, and then putting things in place to address that. So I think from like the MCAS level or some of that data, it's there are benchmarks or measurements that you can look at. Areas that are less clearly defined are maybe around like the student engagement, and then probably where the team chair is coming in. So is there, I don't know from a process standpoint, is there the thought that maybe you would come back or there would be, I think I would be really curious
We'd
just
be
to see
happy to
this.
come back.
Yeah, just to see,
Yeah.
well, as you're talking about adjusting things
Yeah.
and all of that, it would be interesting to see, you know, sort of
How it played out.
how it played out,
Yeah.
but like what are the measurements around
Yeah.
that student engagement? Is it time on task? Is it attendance? Is it, you know, those things? I think that would be interesting to see.
We had our site council this morning, and luckily we have two educators as parents who sit on that site council pretty consistently this year. One was very consistent last year. And one member said for the benchmarks, because we went over these slides and we were talking about some other pieces, you know, we should look at our student with disabilities, so students on IEPs, their progress notes. You know, how do they shift during the year? And I thought, thank you, I hadn't thought of that yet, you know what I mean? So those types of pieces of information, we do keep we started this right when we sort of got together last year, we do keep a call log for assistance. We do a room service approach. If students are having issues, we come to you right in the classroom, because we wanna keep students in the classroom, re-engage them with calm corners and whatnot. If students need a walk, we're happy to take them for a walk. If something egregious happens, we're happy to deal with that as well. But for the most part, we do our room service approach and we come right to you, we reset, we stay, we might do a walk, we might stay with students or what have you. And but that data gets kind of tracked in the office, and it's not about, we prefaced it when we presented it last year when I began when I first started, it's not about the adults, it's more about the kids. Because some students might have a real aversion to math, and then they're gonna throw that water bottle when the math lesson starts, you know what I mean? So it's about, you know, when we know that, when we've seen that over a 5-day cycle or what have you, you know, we can preview that with a particular student, like, oh, we're gonna be starting math, you know what I mean? We're talking about this, having those private conversations or giving that information ahead of time, and then we might not see as many calls for assistance and whatnot. So, you know, those are like the small shifts, and that's why we do keep that call for assistant data. Our administrative assistant is the best employee in the building, I believe, and I think everyone in the building would say that. She keeps that data, and she sometimes can't fill in the whys and the whats, but she keeps the data, and then we can kind of fill that in. And then last year, we were checking in with the behaviorists and whatnot. This year, Carolyn and I has done many of those check-ins just on our own, and then been able to make some shifts with that. But those, and that's the data we're using to sort of engage the elementary inclusion specialist as well. And that's the data I believe that we'll probably use to engage with our team chair when that sort of shift begins in December. Some of that data, but yeah.
And then more on like a classroom level too, it just makes me think about how we can engage the instructional leadership team and in common planning. You know, we have implemented like a common corner in every classroom. It was kind of a soft ask at the beginning of the last year, just because we wanted to make that shift and say, hey, is there, you know, if a student is, you know, feeling a little bit sluggish and you wanna get them re-energized or they're having a hard time with something, oh, take a break. We want them taking that break in the classroom, still engaging with the learning and still being with their peers. And now it's something that we do have in all K to 5, even pre-K to 5 classrooms. So it's something that we can check in on common planning. You know, the novelty of it is like, oh, I can go play with a fidget in the corner over there and I don't have to do my work. That wears off really quickly. You see first graders, you know, heading back to the comm corner, taking a quick structured 2-minute break with some math manipulatives and getting themselves with the timer and then getting back to learning, just like, you know, we all do if we're sitting on, you know, 3 hours of Zoom calls. You get up and you take that walking break. Having students be able to recognize and regulate themselves, I think is so huge. So leaning on the teachers to see, hey, have 5th graders been taking less breaks? Are they engaging more in the work, you know? Is
And we did
something
have
that,
students with on their IEPs
Yeah.
that note
Frequent
breaks and
breaks and-
whatnot, and our PTO helped us out over the summer
Yeah.
to
That's
buy
huge.
some relaxation station in the
Mhm.
hallway materials.
It's my favorite
So-
part of
yeah.
the school. It's like one of those sequins.
So we do have those, and
things.
those are on
Yeah.
a timer as well, but you know, for the most part, we're looking for kids to be in the classroom, having spaces for that to happen there. Thank you.
That's a few. Again, really appreciate it. I wanna thank you, John, thank you so much for coming. I think like this is, the improvement at Tucker is incredibly urgent, kind of thing that we need to be focused on as the school committee, as a district. I am thrilled that you are coming with a plan to kind of the points that have been made by my colleagues. I think this is something we've talked about at school committee for 3 years. I think every time it's, okay, what are we doing? I think we have not gotten a clear plan, conversation, like what is the step, what is the thing they need, what will change it? And I don't think I've felt kind of urgency from former leaders around this, and so I'm so grateful that y'all have come with a plan, so grateful that you have prioritized this plan and brought it to us so that we can move forward. I think it's something that, again, prior school committee members, shout out to Bev, have like consistently kind of raised previously, and so glad we are kind of at this point. I think there's so much opportunity at Tucker if you look at historical performance on MCAS, kind of where it was prior to the pandemic, which was shared previously. You know, as you talked about like some other baseline data, attendance is not an issue at Tucker. It is the 19th best school in the state with attendance out of 1,800 schools. It is phenomenal attendance at Tucker. Kids are showing up. You have a phenomenally invested parent community at that school. Like that is not an issue that, you know, some other schools that have performance concerns are experiencing. So like you just have, as you've said, like a very strong baseline. So I think there's just so much room for quick and sustained success within that community. A couple of things, questions I have is, you know, given where we are and kind of the length of time that we have unfortunately been where we are with unable to kind of turn the ship with student performance at Tucker, it obviously means that every year we're compounding the issue, right? We have more students who are not meeting expectation, more students who need support to get to kind of grade level standards. Typically from my experience, what that means is like we need more time with those kids, right? Those kids need more time on instruction. That's one piece I didn't see within the kind of strategy. Y'all talked about that, like what are the opportunities where we can give kids more time on instruction, either through pull-out during the school day, through you know, intensive tutoring after school, you know, what are those opportunities that you've looked at or?
Yep. So we have worked with Katie starting last year and with our site council member, our only site council member last year, Charles Davis. And we really talked about how do we use the Title I funds differently. So at Tucker, historically, Title I has funded a math interventionist salary. Now, you know, each year the salary goes up, so the Title I money sort of
It stays the same. a
stays
little
the
bit,
same
yeah.
or goes down. decreases. Katie was graciously enough, helped us last year to kind of maneuver some money, so that we got a little bit of a bigger pot. And we were able to begin a pilot program, which extended the whole year. And we used, because we didn't want to we wanted to introduce it as a pilot and to use students who were already there in school in working in the extended day program, in the after school program. So we looked at data, we worked with our after school director, Jessie Conley and Martha Sandoval, and we were able to compile their lists of students that are at the after school program routinely every day or set days every week. We looked at their data, we identified students, we secured Tucker teachers to provide that tutoring after school. It was 3:30 to 4 and then 4 to 4:30. And then we developed a pilot with Curry. So Caroline has a connection over at Curry through some family members, and we were able to connect with a lovely new director there, an undergraduate person, and we sort of have this pipeline of students that we bring in. We do some training on some literacy materials. Kat DeRoche helps us, and we were able to get some tutoring for students last year on a consistent basis. We're doing the same program this year. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel with our connection to Curry. She already knew our game plan. She knew everybody came and was happy. And so we have our Title I tutors that have begun this year. So that's up and running. It's about 3 weeks in. And we have expanded it to not just students who are enrolled in the after school program, because we did get some parent feedback about that, like why can't my student be in and whatnot. And what we do is we harness the time frame from 3:30 to 4 for students who might be a parent pickup at 4, because moving it from 3:19 to 4 isn't too tough for most families. And then for our students who might qualify or signal for additional support that are in the after school program, we just put them in the 4 to 4:30 slots. So we do have that in. We did not put that in here. We looked at their data and last year, and we did see some impact on it. We've worked with Kat DeRoche this year to better identify set materials, to better identify the consistency, and to better identify the mechanisms with the progress monitoring that's already going on during the school day. So this year, I think we have, and Caroline is also
Yeah, I
has
was
a
gonna
grant
say, we
program
have
as well.
we got some additional grant
Yeah.
funding through Kat DeRoche and Bernadette Butler, the early childhood director. And so that's an early childhood literacy, I'm gonna say the word consortium grant
Yep.
through Stonehill, also with Randolph. So we have some additional funds with that we have some early literacy work happening
Yeah.
with students in, right now we've identified 2nd and 3rd grade. And we'll move that, once we give 1st grade a little time to settle in with the curriculum and the UFly program.
And those groups will
yeah.
change every 6 to 8 weeks.
So we look
So,
at that benchmark data, and they're getting, they're really drilling down on the UFly lessons. So I ran a group on Monday, and we were going through the UFly for one of the students. It was something that student had done in the classroom that day, really giving that double dose, and we're working on the diagraphs that the students learned that day, just in a small group of 4. So that we're really looking forward to. I really enjoy the UFly program. I think the phonics, it's really exceptional work that's happening for early literacy. And we're seeing kind of the growth in students already who are getting that curriculum in that K-2 and 3rd grade band. So we're happy that we have that fund as well. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that was something that came to mind too, of kind of expanding the day for students and having the gift of time to have a little more instruction.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to catch students up beyond kind of the average student, you either need
Yeah.
to have better than average instructional delivery, or you need to have more time on instructional delivery, or ideally both.
Yeah.
And it's also about
Absolutely.
thinking about the student time in the classroom. So last year, I told you I asked for a lot. I went to Katie and we talked about how the Title III money is used for language learners. And we had language learners in the building. We use Boost. A lot of districts use Lexia. I had come from districts that had used Lexia, so using Lexia to build phonics skills in language learners, it's a little bit easier from my perspective as a former reading specialist than using Boost. Boost is a little bit more language heavy when they're interacting with the screen. So just as a former ESL teacher as well, going into classrooms, seeing language learners at Tucker engage with Boost, I sort of said, we could use this other program called Imagine Learning, specifically designed for language development for language learners, because in my previous roles, I had had relationships with folks from this national company that puts out this program specifically for language learners, and it's been out for about 5, 6, 7 years. It's well-grounded. They were able to give us a pilot. I think they charged us, even though I didn't want them to charge us, but they charged us $500, I believe. We were able to pilot it at Tucker. And then, again, Katie and I tried to work some magic with them over the summer. We've got 40 licenses. It's across all 4 elementary schools. And I believe it just began either last week, and I'll do a check-in to make sure it's up and running for students, language learners. So it's for students who might have proficiency levels 1 through like a 3.5 in grades 1 through 5. I believe, or maybe 2 to 5, I can't remember exactly. So really thinking about, we've done some time last year and this year, to your point, Mark, about like what's the student experience? Are we leveraging their time effectively in the classroom? Because putting language learners, we saw firsthand with a newcomer from Haiti in grade 3, putting him on Boost was not the right use of his time, but yet when we switched him over to putting him on Imagine Learning, once we were able to get the pilot up and running, and then we were able to also give him additional support with a reading interventionist in addition to the ESL support he was getting from the ESL teacher, we've seen great growth. And
Absolutely,
he speaks to us in great sentences. Yeah. So, and his writing's coming along.
How many kids are currently participating in the after-school tutoring?
I believe we have a combined amount for about 36. We're still, we've sent out the invitations, and we've done some more invitations out. So we have slots for about 45. So we're trying to get connected with families to make sure they saw our bright orange paper, and then get it back to us. And if they can't do it for some reason, then there's a second tier. This is the same model we did last year to kind of get that capacity up. It's like planning for a wedding, right? You have, 200 seats, you might invite 225. So, to get that 200, so.
You'll see me on the Parkway running after people with orange
Yeah,
paper.
with
And
orange.
I got a signature in the vestibule the other day,
Yeah.
so and we're excited about, and the family is excited too. They might not just have seen it at the bottom of the backpack.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to really engage with families so that they're aware of that support.
If you're able to fill all those seats and you're able to, looking to expand those further, I would love the opportunity to hear that request from y'all and see if we can do even more.
Yeah, that we just need more Title I money. Mark.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So Katie knows,
Yeah.
Katie's gonna.
Yeah.
Just another question, you mentioned around like teachers wanting to see best practices. I totally agree with that, not even just within the classroom, but outside. And I think, as I also heard you talk about common planning time, it sounds like it's something that's been in place for a while, but you're looking to improve its effectiveness by kind of revamping some processes within it. Have y'all had the opportunity to see effective common planning at other schools in the area, either in Milton or beyond Milton, to kind of steal, to a phrase you used previously, like not reinventing the wheel, like steal strategies around like what does highly effective common planning time structures look like in terms of utilizing that very limited but precious time with teachers to move the needle on student learning?
I think that's where we've leveraged some of our district curriculum directors to kind of help us with that. The school day's pretty busy, but that's something we could definitely consider moving forward. My previous 2 schools, that was probably the guiding force that changed instruction and got us out of turnaround and got the commissioner to change our status from, underperforming school to performing school. So that was definitely one of the big pieces. So I'm bringing those learnings with me as a school leader and trying to implement them here, so.
Yeah, I think being able to see that in practice is sometimes helpful for people.
I think it's helpful for like teachers
Yeah.
to see that
Yeah.
as well, so that's definitely a piece, so thank you.
And also that, and also just, high quality instruction in general, to your point of like seeing each other, like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
does, how can you make this type of rigorous lesson, how can you teach to the standard when kids are
Yeah.
like just, more exposure that they have to be
Yeah.
able to see what that looks like and pull that in. It's great. I'm sorry, I'm visualizing a lot. I guess the last question I have is, not really a question, but just maybe a request to you, like, I would love to do another school visit at some point to Tucker to kind of
Sure.
see the work in action. And again, really appreciate the opportunity to have this kind of joint conversation and hear all the great work.
So we do learning walks every week. We'll be at the Cunningham tomorrow. We were at the Tucker last week.
Friday.
So if you wanna go to any school or just one specific school, just let us know. We can plug you into that routine. Or we can go and do a special walk in addition to that for any school committee member who would like to do so. The teachers are embracing the walks that are happening throughout the building, whether it's with Carla and I or with the administration. So it's not a big deal. The teachers and the students know who we are, what we're doing, and they enjoy the process. So, and to Celeste's point, we don't go in there and hang out for a half hour and then stop to talk adult to adult. We're in there observing, we're asking questions, we're asking the students what's going on today, what are you learning? How do you know what's expected of you today? So there's very targeted work that we're doing while we're in there, and then we get out and talk about it. So I'd love to have you come by and be part of that process.
I really appreciate this substance of this conversation. I am sure that I haven't been able to listen to a conversation like this yet since I've been on school committee, just as far as the depth, the sort of very focused nature of discussing in real time, like as you framed, John, the sort of we looked at the data recently and now we're here able to talk about what's being done in response to the data, and even Carla being able to share in the meantime, like what's happening at the district level that's connected to what's happening at the school level. And I just need to sort of acknowledge but express like real sincere appreciation that this conversation is even able to happen, because I do think it's the like synthesis of the district leadership that you're providing with this amazing school leadership that is on display. And I came in just having seen the preliminary, strategic response, the plan that, was presented and that we kind of approved conceptually mostly. And then, I think I did bring a number of questions like into the conversation, and they've basically all been answered through the discussion, and also colleagues who've asked good questions. But I just am so thankful for the opportunity to take this time to like slow down and really focus on your expertise and like how you're in the process of applying it to be responsive. And I appreciated just hearing the theme of support that and just the positivity of the conversation, because I do think that, when we have seen discouraging data like year over year, it can be a natural response to feel frustration, discouragement. I know there has been some of that in the community. So to lead with the positivity and the confidence of like what can be possible when we think outside the box and like bring resources to apply in these targeted ways. I just really appreciated the idea of the feedback that, as you were saying, the educators want and appreciate the feedback, and also your theme, as well as Carly, your theme of like seeking the feedback from the educators as well, that's a two-way street. And I'm excited, I'm very grateful and heartened by the discussion, so thank you.
Yeah, I just wanna add on to that, Lizzie. I think, when you don't have consistent leadership in a building year after year, I think this is what happens. I'll be
exactly.
honest, I mean, Tucker, I think, is ripe for like a case study. You have a group of people there who held the ship together.
Yeah.
And I learned that over the last, year and some months. Having Caroline back a second year was, the best thing that could have happened. Having some minimal turnover in teacher staff, but yet at the same point, when you compare it to other schools in the district, some buildings have had zero turnover compared to us just having some minimal. Other schools have had leaders in place for 10 plus years, right? Tucker has had, a new principal. We joked about it, shame on me though for joking about it because, that's something very serious. When a fifth grader says to you, where are you gonna be next year? And I'm like, I'm gonna be here, you're gonna be at the middle school. You know what I mean? Like that says something about the culture. That means that every year that fifth grader, and like Marika kind of spoke up, has had a different focus, has had different expectations, has had different responses to whether behavior, pluses or minuses. So, I think with a set of numbers, there's a story. And I think that, the praise, we can't say it enough. The praise really needs to go to the teachers. I mean,
Yep.
you're a parent of Tucker, who kind of held the ship together, and kept that building grounded, and even though the scores might be not comparable to its peers in the district, it's still better than the state. And I mean it sincerely, and I think Mr. Fela can speak to it. I have no qualms with anybody going into any classroom at Tucker, and that's typically not how you feel year 2 of a school that you're trying to make some changes at, and I've been in that situation twice already in my life, so just small shifts, and I think that the scores will be reflective of that. Yeah.
That's what I mean, like time will tell, but that's something about the conversation here this evening feels like a watershed type of a moment, and I am of a cohort of the community that has been through a lot. I have the past 7 years have been a lot, and so that's why I feel like I don't take for granted that something feels like palpably not better in a way that is critical of like what anybody has done in the past, but just I feel more, I guess, like sense of like the optimism grounded in the actual plan,
Yeah.
which, as you were very rightly point out, like it's just when you're in a staying afloat mode, 1 year to the next with the leadership turnovers and the teacher turnover, it's really not feasible to get to this point. But now you're wasting no time in taking us to this point because you did come back, and so I feel like I'm really kind of hoping that this is a conversation that is possible to look back on and point back to and look at, whether you are able to come and provide updates. I think the setting of the benchmarks is so important. I mean, that those are not set arbitrarily, that those are informed by the inputs, the data and everything else. So you're managing the expectations and helping us think about the 3-year timeframe. But you're also like putting a stake in the ground around the expectation that there will be changes and that the district is here to support and is encouraging you to show up, with this advocacy, that's huge. And that is like equity in action, because we have seen from our data that we need to be doing some things a little bit differently. And anyway, so I could go on all night, I will stop. Thank you.
So I will finish by saying that this is a great news story for the Tucker community. We have great leadership leadership that's supporting and also valuing and encouraging great educators. That stakeholder group, along with our teachers union, who was right on board to support, a school committee that heard the request and granted the request immediately, to a wonderful PTO that's not only here tonight to talk about the good things that are going on and talk about the wonderful investment that we're making in, and how people are, the entire group of stakeholders really investing in the Tucker community and what's good for Tucker. And this is a great time while everybody's emotionally just peaked to say that if you want to donate to Tucker PTO. You just have to log on to the website, because you gotta get them when you got them, right? So, but it is a good news story. All stakeholders involved. Thank you for coming tonight. Great stuff. Appreciate all your work.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make your own.
Great, so for the chair's report, we just wanted to discuss, at the last meeting, Superintendent Phelan, brought up the introduction of a curriculum review advisory committee, which we appreciate. So he's come back with a description of that committee, and so, which you're gonna go through, and then we will vote on the program description as well as on the two members who have been appointed to that advisory committee.
So after several meetings of discussions about different things that are happening in the district related to curriculum instruction and programming, I did make the recommendation to see if the school committee was interested in taking part in a curriculum review advisory committee. And the way that I have experienced and utilized this kind of committee in order to get school committee feedback and guidance on different programmatic and instructional shifts that the district is making is to have this group meet as on an as needed basis when curriculum reviews are coming forward in preparation for the school committee meetings. So school committee members can have advanced time with the folks who are doing the work, ask the questions that they feel are important, provide that school committee lens into it and that parent lens, because it's a representative group that the school committee is, and help shape and inform what that final product could look like. So the curriculum review advisory committee would be a school committee, have two school committee members, and I'm gonna read just from the definition of what we're hoping to have it shaped and look like. The curriculum review advisory committee will provide guidance and feedback on school administration's proposed shifts in existing curriculum and programs and or new and proposed curriculum and program initiatives. After the review of these proposals, the school administration, the curriculum review advisory committee will present to the full school committee. So the way we look at it is that whenever we're going to try to move a teaching and learning part of the district, and before we get in front of the committee, we want to make sure the committee has a chance to ask in-depth questions, have two of the members of the committee ask those questions, ask for additional data, additional information. So when that group gets to the school committee table, they have two allies in the school, two members of the school committee, that certain questions have been asked, and that voice through that subcommittee is part of what the school committee's role is in this work. And an example of how this would work would be, Kat DeRoche talked about the literacy work in October. Had we had this committee in place, the members of the curriculum review advisory committee would have been in meetings with Kat DeRoche and her team, along with Carla and I, as we begin to ask her questions. The committee could have been there asking the same or different questions from a parent and school committee lens, shaping the conversation and making sure that when we came forward to the school committee that some of those basic big picture questions were asked from a school committee perspective. The next time that this might be helpful is that we have a we have a program of studies that usually gets voted by the school committee annually in February. So if there's any shifts in that document or any discussion about that, those set of expectations, we would ask the high school principal along with their team to sit with the curriculum review advisory committee along with Carla and I to talk about the potential shifts, what they look like, why they're happening, the rationale, any information that we would like to discuss. And that could be one meeting, it could be two meetings, it could be three meetings that would happen with that group before they would come in front of the whole group to present the program of studies to the entire school committee. So this would meet when needed. I'm sure we'll end up meeting 2 or 3 times a year, because there'll be curriculum proposals that we'll be gonna begin to talk about and move to the district. And we appreciate the school committee lens into this work and the advocacy and the support that it would bring to the members of the administrative team and the curriculum team when they look up and they know that they're presented to school members and there's gonna be good questions and dialogue and good feedback that's already been part of the process. So this is our opportunity to be more inclusive in that way.
I have one question. Are we going to include student voice in this subcommittee?
So tonight, our friend Elias gave me pause for thought for that discussion. So I don't know if they'd be involved in this committee, but I think if we're talking about the program of studies, very much would like to bring in student voice into that process for sure.
Because when I met with the high school representative last Friday morning, they have bring that up from our previous recordings and was very interested and wanted to participate in these kind of conversations because it affects the teachers and the students at the same time, right? So
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
wanted to increase the student outcome, then the students' voice should be a part of this conversation. So they're very interested in participating in this conversation, and at least one or two of them in the group are.
So I think for our high school and middle school folks, it might be really helpful to have that kind of voice on those curriculum discussions. So we don't have to make them part of the school committee piece, but we can certainly make them part of the group of discussion points when we meet as a group, for sure. Because the other one we have coming up is the world language
Yeah.
discussion as well.
Yeah.
That we'll start to pile and talk about. We want student voice in that for sure.
Questions or comments on the description?
Just that doesn't need to say 2 members, just because none of the other committees restricts your membership numbers.
Sure, I think the advisory, too, but we can take that piece out. And then, did you have any questions on that? Great, and then the 2 members who would be, Anna and Val as the 2 advisory members.
So as with some of our other subcommittees, there'll be the opportunity to cross-post the meetings, so that those of us not on the subcommittee can still participate in it, be informed about that discussion.
And I think the other thing that's come up is that I know that a version of this subcommittee existed before and then it sort of got sunsetted for whatever reasons. I think keeping in mind that this, we're doing this year, if there's feedback on frequency or number of members, anything like that, there is that fluidity. I think it's just seeing how it works this year and then, as with anything, we need to adjust it or change it. We have that ability, even to the point of, to your point about student membership or something like that. So, but I think it's a great place to start, and I appreciate you bringing it back, given the the questions that have come up and the opportunity to be involved sooner. So, thank you.
I only want to add, because I know we're gonna go into finance after this, but I'm thankful for the comments that everybody provided, Celeste and her team. And that presentation went a little longer than I thought it would. But talk about spending time on the right things. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing as a committee, talking about data, talking about responses to that work. What did that look like? Having voice in curriculum, how do we do that? This is the work. This is what these meetings should be about. This is healthy dialogue for the community to see us all taking part in, asking for some results, having people come and show action plans, getting people involved in the curriculum discussions. This is what the work should look like. And I'm glad that we gave as much time as needed for the Tucker team and celebrated that work and that initiative. And so I just appreciate the time and effort that was put in tonight by the committee on behalf of how well received that was. And thankful obviously to Caroline and Celeste for their work.
So, I'm looking at
Motion, we also.
yes,
Appointing.
yes.
Yeah, so, sure, I'll make a motion to approve the updated 2025-2026 list of Milton School Committee subcommittees and advisory committees, adding the Curriculum Review Advisory Committee and appointing Anna Varghese and Val Hu as the committee members. Second.
All in favor?
Thanks for starting on that.
Next up, we have the finance subcommittee report.
Finance subcommittee, we met last week. We began the discussion, or continued, I guess, slightly about the revolving accounts policies, started to look at kind of a draft plan of the different kind of revolving accounts, and closing and focus of those, how we want to, again, as part of kind of budget priorities for the current year, how do we strengthen those to create, as John has said many times, kind of the shock absorbers budget process. So had that conversation, had some good initial dialogue. We will continue that next week. And then we had a meeting today where we had our first real conversation on looking at the FY27 budget. Could be for next year, sort of looking at some level service numbers. So that's some of the information that Katie has put in the school committee folder today. There are 3 PDFs. I think we're going to screen share kind of one of them that gives kind of the high level. The other 2 documents are one that kind of gives a more detailed FY27 kind of all over budget by cost center, which you have questions on. Katie is way more qualified than me to discuss. And then the other is a similar kind of more detailed around some of the all over budgets. So I'll screen share at that level. Before we jump into that presentation, though, anything else that we talked about at finance?
So this morning was our first opportunity to discuss and review the draft level service budget for fiscal year 27. We've been working internally with the district leadership team over the past several months and having budget conversations and talking about next year. But this was kind of our first opportunity to be able to update the finance subcommittee on our initial draft for fiscal year 27. And so the information that we reviewed this morning primarily focused around some of the major budget drivers that we are seeing that will lead to the level service budget increase for next year. And so this was a document that we talked about, and you can see that this document shows the current year or the fiscal year 26 final budget. That's the $72,873,000 that's shown at the top. And then when we're looking at building the budget for next year, you can see the overall budget impact of increases, or in one instance, a decrease. The changes that we're projecting for next year that leads us to the overall level service budget increase. And that increase at this point in time is a 5.2% increase. Some of the major budget drivers that we discussed and reviewed, and there's more information kind of at a more granular detail in one of the other documents that is in the folder for tonight's meeting. But the first major budget driver for fiscal year 27 and the largest increase is due to salaries. And that, of course, is due to the fact that 82% of the overall budget is tied to our salary expenses. So you can see that even if we did, if the only thing that we did to change the budget next year was just to increase the salaries due to the contractual bargaining agreements, we would have a 4.56 increase, and that's just due to steps and lanes for our existing staff. There's also some moderate increases to some of the substitute coverage, so you can see what we've projected as a budget impact on this document. And then we're also showing that we will be increasing one of the revenue offsets that we use. And there's a supporting document in the folder for tonight's meeting that breaks down each one of the revenue offsets that we're using. And that document shows the information for the current fiscal year and for next fiscal year. You can see that we're also accounting for increases in special education, out-of-district tuition, and special education contracted services and transportation. An important note in the out-of-district tuition number is that that increase is set by the state, by the Operational Services Division, and that percentage increase was set at 3.04% for next fiscal year. And so we have very little discretion in what those increases are because those rates are set by the state and they push that information to us in October of each year so that we can plan for the upcoming fiscal year.
So it was 3% for this year, and this is what it is for next year.
It was 3.6% for fiscal year 26, and then for fiscal year 27, it's 3.04%. And that's the increase that's in here.
All right, thank you.
We're also taking into account that we'll have an increase in transportation. The increase that we're showing in this top portion of this document for transportation is just a contractual increase, and that does not reflect any changes in the number of buses that we're providing. So that is just showing the overall increase in the cost of transportation services if we were to provide the same level of service next year. And that transportation line takes into account our general education transportation, foster transportation, and also homeless transportation. We're also taking into account changes and increases for our facilities budget, as well as some miscellaneous adjustments that we've made looking across the district when it comes to office supplies, textbooks, and other general expenses that help support the overall operating budget. So that is the top portion. That's a very high level general overview of some of the major budget drivers that we're looking at for the level service budget. But all of that being said, we're also trying to incorporate the fact that we have a number of different changes that we'd like to make for next year. But we'd like to be able to do that in making some allocations within the existing budget instead of asking for potential adds above level service. And that is the information that's shown in the bottom portion of this document. It's kind of in that tan color shown below. And you can see these are examples of some of the changes that we've talked about during our leadership meetings, and we've talked about at the district level of initiatives that we'd like to see be funded in fiscal year 27. But you can see at the bottom, all of those increases also will come with a corresponding decrease or adjustment so that the overall budget ask for fiscal year 27 would fall under that level service number of the 5.2%.
So, thank you, Katie. I wanted to say thank you to Katie White, because one of the biggest compliments I think you could give a finance director is to say, wow, after reading this and talking about it, it made so much sense to me. And I think that was a comment that Amanda made after the meeting. Meaning it's a very, very clear view of what we're doing. So just to recap, the blue table on the top is really saying out loud that we are rolling over our existing staff and embedding in potential increases in salaries related to contract negotiations. and we're staying within a 5.2% increase, which is level service. And so then we're going to take our own work to task of how we want to organize that increase to $76,662,000 and make any changes within that budget. So we're not as of right now, given the assumptions that we've been talking about with the warrant committee in the town, that this generally is the arena of funds available, and we're trying to work within that. That doesn't mean if something happens within the revenue cycle that we'll get information on related to what Nick might present with health insurance, et cetera. Right now, we're working under the general assumption that rolling it over along with contractual needs is the amount of money we should predict to work with. So, and we're prioritizing that if we are to make any changes in what we do and offer, that we will do that realigning the resources that we have. So we made a commitment to the community that we would be very thoughtful about our financial planning, make our budget sustainable, and also be thoughtful about how we organize our approach to put resources where we think the district needs it. We are also, while doing all that, at only 5.2% increase, we are also embedding in here the needed task of putting deposits into our revolving accounts in order to stabilize over a 3-year period our future budgets. So that's part of the sustainability piece. So Katie has devised these increases in a way that we were within this budget, we're supporting funds that will go into revolving accounts that have been lowered over the past few years that need to be reestablished, not all in 1 year, but over the next 3 years if we continue to be disciplined with how we spend our money, how we allocate resources to revolving accounts, and take care of the work that we need to do in order to support students and teachers. If we do that incrementally and we stay disciplined, then we're going to wake up in 3 fiscal years with revolving accounts that have sufficient balances. That gives us greater flexibility in order to make shifts and changes in resources, in order to maybe add things that we want to over time, in addition to the budget, because we'll have room and flexibility to do that. So we are in year 1 of this disciplinary approach. We need to have another year 2. We need to stay in that path. If something this budget has assumptions in it that could be there could be a hole poked in any one of those assumptions over the course of the year. The natural things that happen in school districts, but this is, I hope, seen by many to be our attempt to work with the funds that we have while making changes and actually building a financial plan and a financial plan moving forward that's sustainable for the town. We did just receive a $9.5 million right. These funds have to be used with very incredible thought and care in fiscal discipline and fiscal planning, and that's what this represents at this point in time.
Yeah, I just say I appreciate the robust discussion that we all were able to have about this. Appreciate the alignment of this to priorities. Clarity, which always provides. So, bottom line, hopefully things are not a surprise to us in finance. Hopefully they're not a surprise here. But the majority of them, so things we discussed, these are lines of priorities. Not final, but I appreciate that the department is kind of raising those things, at least moves into it within what we're going to be calling kind of this first reading, first draft of kind of looking at this 2027 picture.
Questions?
So basically, just to kind of clarify, we're working with our 5.2% increase and then adding these things in without adding more to the increase, right? Like that's basically what we're trying.
So the next stage of this work, and we talked about at the end of the meeting today, was whatever we want to do within this new budget amount for next year, this projected budget amount for next year, would be done internally. So right now, we did not fill several vacancies for this fiscal year, which gave us leverage to put dollars into certain budget line items that shored those line items up. So we have a year of that kind of flexibility that we've added to, that adds into the flexibility that we'll have in FY '27. What we have gone back to the leadership team to talk about is we need to tell the story of what we want to shift and why. And we need to give that story to the school committee, and we need to give that story to the community. So if we start with the vacancies that were unfilled, which ones do we want to bring back and why? Which ones do we don't want to bring back and why? Are there any positions that we currently have that are being, put in place right now? Do we want to reduce any of those positions in order to reallocate those resources to something else that might be more productive towards student outcomes in any one school or any one grade? So we're trying to work within the amount of money we have to realign those resources. And it's our job to demonstrate the why, that's more important in the priority list than anything else that's on that list that we're gonna have to compare to. So when we look at that vacancy list, someone might say, well, are you gonna bring back the fine and performing arts director? Well, we're not sure. We're gonna pilot a different model for this year. We'll see how that goes. If we think that goes well, that might be a model that we can keep that might be less expensive, but still meet the needs of the district. Are we going to bring back the assistant director of student services? I think we have to. I think that's a big department that involves a lot of work that is really rooted in the foundation of our inclusion model in Milton. So I would say that we definitely have to put that back. We want to give the director support in that assistant director position. So we're evaluating those one by one with the principals and the leadership team. And we're also asking them, is there anything that you want to move within your building to, I could use less of this, but I need more of that. And we're making sure that we give them permission to explore how they can implement their strategy by reallocating resources either within the building or at the district level. This is our example of what we would like to do, just generically. I think that, we need a full-time assistant superintendent in addition to Katie's assistant superintendent role. We found out very clearly we need an extra bus. So these are examples that are just related to the work that we're doing now. We need more professional development. Bao asked about, is your PD enough? Is your time enough? We have a literacy program that we're gonna get up and running. We have other work that we want to take part in. So these are all targeted to our 5 priorities. But the first, remember, when our budget memo was fiscal sustainability and being good stewards of the dollar, and then the 5 priorities. So we're trying to approach it in that order. So what you can expect from us moving forward in rather short time is, what do those proposals look like? What does that give and take look like? So you can understand it, the community can have it in front of them and they can talk about it. And then I think when we get to January, whether we have, when we have our open budget meetings, we want to invite parents to come in and families and guardians to say what they like and what they don't like. Well, I support this more than I support that. Whatever those things are, the community input would be very helpful. And if that means going out, I've been going to PTO meetings, but maybe doing a budget, just a budget at the high school auditorium one night for the community, where they don't have to incorporate their voice within the structure of a school committee meeting. They can just ask any question they want. So we want that feedback, and when people call about the bus or people call about something, and I say, you should go to a school committee meeting and ask. And we'll take that feedback. It doesn't mean that you're gonna get what you want, right? It means that we need to hear that, though, to hear the value of it and the scale of it, and it might shift that conversation. I mean, the parents who came to talk about transportation shifted the outcome because we were able to fix that problem, but that feedback was important. So this is really about trying to get feedback from the community, make sure that we're doing things in front of everybody, but also meaning that we can't do everything, that there's gonna be some yeses, and there's gonna be some nos, and there's gonna be priorities around that, and contextual proposals around that for folks to be ready for. So, and I don't think this is gonna be a really big shift in 1 year. Katie's been here 1 year and 3 months, I've been here 3 months, Kyle has been here 3 weeks, so we're really leaning on and respecting and valuing what our educators who are in the district already need from us to facilitate that. And we might, we always want to be hearing that voice, because what we don't want to do is unilaterally implement something that then we walk away from. Right? We need to do what the people who are gonna be here for a long time need. And so we're trying to weigh that healthy tension between giving the space for the educators to decide how they wanna make shifts, because they're the ones that will have to carry it out over time. And we have an interim situation that we wanna be respectful of. And they've already seen that. Do blue. They do blue. Then blue leaves. I mean, I think that the Tucker story is a microcosm of the district story, right? So we wanna be respectful of that. Celeste is listening to her teachers and giving teacher voice. We're listening to principals and giving principal voice. And we're trying to use that on behalf of how we represent the needs of the district, so.
I have to say, I really appreciate the correlation both between how you're talking about the budget and how Celeste and Caroline spoke about utilizing the resources that they have and utilizing it differently, you know, and like leveraging, you know, Curry College, for instance, and thinking creatively about how to do more with what they have, and then just going and asking, like the request from them, when I look at it from a dollar amount, is very minimal. So I appreciate that they're looking at it like that. So I just love that everyone is in sync and moving in the same direction with these goals and trying to figure out, hey, let's think creatively about this. And the points that you were talking about with extending the school day and and more time on learning. So we're giving them more with what we have had because we're trying to think outside the box, as Lizzie mentioned. So yeah, great.
The only other piece I'm just obviously a key piece here is the coordination with the town, right? The town administrator, finance director, so taking this, sharing this with them, figuring out what the financial forecasts are, how this fits. So
We would say to the town, if they wanna give us 6%, we will gladly
yeah.
take it. And shepherd those funds very, very effectively. So we will always take more if there is more available, but we're trying to be good stewards with the money that we're projecting that we will have. But this is, to your point, Mark, contingent upon the continued conversation we're having at the town level related to revenue, the other town departments, et cetera. So very good start.
Questions or comments?
Then we have one warrant, which I sent out this morning, signed today. There's a motion here, but it's not actually a motion, so I'm just, I forget what I even did last week. I just named that I signed vendor warrant 20 in the amount of $1,097,977.82. Questions about it?
Policy.
Okay, so policy met yesterday. We reviewed policy IHAMD, the wellness policy. You have a red line version in your folder. This policy is reviewed by a third-party consultant because it needs to be submitted every 3 years to the government for a grant. Since we sunsetted the Health and Wellness Committee that was here a few years ago, the consultant that we used recommended that we change the Wellness Committee structure so that it no longer needs the school committee members as it's listed before. So there is some proposed wording changes. It's towards the bottom of the policy, basically saying that we're going to replace it where it says the school committee will create a health and wellness advisory committee. A wellness committee will be composed of teachers, administrators, community members, students, and families, which they're already doing, and they meet as John mentioned quarterly at this point. And then there's also some language above it where that they also recommended in terms of staff training. So those are really the only changes. And again, this is just a red line version. It's a first reading. We'll do a second reading and vote on it at our next meeting. And that's it. That's all we have for.
Is the grant a nutrition focused grant? I had one kind of big picture comment that I just wanted to confirm, because I'm not familiar with all of our policies. Is this our main wellness related policy? Do we have other health and wellness policies?
This is our
It seems like it, because I don't
Yeah.
recall seeing any
No,
other ones.
this is our main one.
I guess I feel I'm glad it's focused on nutrition. That's important. And it's necessary for this grant. I feel like the biggest threat to children's wellness is social media, excessive screen time, and synthetic AI relationships. And I feel like our policy should talk about that so that we can have a starting point as a district as to how we want to support students as they navigate that. So I'm wondering if we could consider that as part of, I'm happy to share more of my thoughts here, but I think, like, and I don't know where exactly it could fit here. Like the policy does speak to healthy and safe environment, although it's just focused on the physical environment. The social emotional well-being part just talks about the survey that happens. But I think if we, I would love it if we could assert as a district that we want to support students to, something to the effect of like leveling up their awareness of and improve, helping them establish healthy relationships with technology. And then we can figure out what that means as a district, but I think establishing it as part of a policy framework would be, I think, probably cool. So
My familiarity with this is through a nutrition program with my schools. It's like the wellness policy generally is a USDA requirement to participate in the school breakfast lunch program. And so most of these things that's why it's nutrition focused. And there are requirements through that around physical education, development, curriculum over time, staff training, all these things, access to water, anything that's in there. Those are specific language requirements that are needed within this policy. So a lot of that is driven. There are some things that are outside of this. So I just don't know if that, I like exactly what you're saying. I think that's good, important stuff. Likely could fit in here. I don't know if that is just a separate policy to create the separation between like what is being created for USDA, kind of that school lunch and food program. Like it does have a very specific purpose kind of to that end, not just like one that is built and crafted. But maybe there actually is no problem with incorporating that language with the overall USDA, or maybe it needs to be separate. So just want to find that.
I would almost see it as separate, but I think you raise a really important point. I think that's something that we should, in addition to having a policy, I think more just practice of kids are introduced to social media. A lot of students are come middle school, for instance, right? And they have so much access and they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know to sometimes you'll see kids will use it during the day, and that's just their it's human nature, right? At that age to be able to, if no one's looking, I'm gonna look at it, so what are some of the kind of practices that we could use to make sure that they have a healthy relationship with social media, AI, as you mentioned, and devices,
So my recommendation would be, I'd like to go through the policies to see if there's any policies that may be connected to social media and that kind of access and screen time. And if it's not, we need to either talk about it through this policy or another policy. And one of the positions that we reduced was AJ Melanson's technology group. They had drafted AI policy language that every time you brush your teeth, it goes out of, it becomes old, right? Because it's just moving so fast. But we want to and have already met with folks that have been we're working with AJ on that policy, that we will be bringing an AI policy to this group through the policy subcommittee as one way of attacking this issue of the relationship between students and technology. I like how that sounds. There have been AI workshops already this year with staff, And I think that the small team that's left over at AJC went down to the middle school already, but we need a policy in place around AI from a teacher lens, from a parent lens, and from a student lens, from a what to do, what not to use AI for, but also what you can use AI for, and what AI platforms are student and school friendly and which are not, and then engage and leverage the school friendly ones in a way that are the teaching tool to support the healthy relationship between technology and the students. So why don't Charlene and I explore those three areas? We know that we will be presenting an AI policy. We can kind of update it a little bit from last year's version and run it by some peer communities, and we'll be presenting that too. But I can give an update on that.
Could I add one other thing that might relate back to the other subcommittee is that could it be an area of exploration with whatever that health curriculum is? So in that, if there is a health class, like, is there something around that piece of it?
On that, you mean?
In the health curriculum,
In the
yeah.
health curriculum as opposed to maybe a policy? Is it getting to that idea around a new area of health that kids need to start
Yeah.
looking into?
I haven't dug into it yet, but I have a feeling that we're probably addressing it in different pockets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the work the bucket I wanna pick up and try to figure out what we're already doing. And then DESE has guidelines already on this, and I think MASC is thinking about helping us on policy, so
Great.
helping districts on policy. So, we're kind of converging into a space where we can start to talk about it more fruitfully, so.
And just two other thoughts, thank you. On the AI policy you're talking about, and I don't know if my comment belongs in somewhere else, like an employee handbook, but I think it should also address employee interaction with AI. If I heard you mention health and student use, but just employees should be in there as well. And then we may want to, if we have AI policies or tech policies, I agree with you, every time you brush your teeth, it's out of date. I think we have a 3-year policy review cycle. I would suggest that we have something else for our AI.
Different piece.
Like we could review them twice a year.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So just food for thought.
So we'll do a second read at the next.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then facilities didn't meet. And then did budget, you guys have a budget coordination that you didn't?
No, there's no formal, they had a working session on some policies.
Okay, so then the next thing is the approval of the minutes for the November 5th meeting, which are in the folder. Do you have any edits?
Motion to approve Milton School Committee meeting minutes of October 2025.
Second.
Favor? And then the last thing I have is looking at the agenda items for the next meeting. So we have a vote on the 2024-25 annual report. We're having a community schools presentation. Subcommittee reports would be capital improvement planning committee, is that one? Facilities won't meet, finance.
Finance will be.
Oh, is that the FY 27 budget calendar and budget discussion? That's what's listed. So I'll just put finance and then. Bao, do you have any?
I don't meet with the high school rep until December 12th.
And MFE doesn't.
MFE meets today.
Today,
which I
right,
cannot
right, that's
attend.
They switched
Yeah.
their meeting, yeah.
Right.
Could and the community schools presentation will be related to summer program fees, not the full school year after school fee and programming discussions. So we're doing summer fees first, so they can get ahead of it and get it out to families in January. So we wanna get that part done, and then we'll do the second part after that.
School building.
I'll put it down and then just circle back.
So we have budget I'm not sure when the next date is.
Yeah, I don't know that it's been, I don't have one on my calendar. It's usually the first Friday of the month.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll put
it's
a placeholder.
unlikely, because we're not gonna have one this week, so we won't have, because we'll be on Fridays, so, yeah, it's unlikely.
Okay, alright, great.
So moved.
All in favor? Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.